One summer moment can change a child's life. Through Toys for Tots Give and Go initiative, your support provides books, games, toys, and outdoor adventures that spark curiosity, creativity, and a love of nature. Whether it's fishing, learning a new sport, reading under a tree, or playing with friends, these moments build confidence and lifelong memories. For too many children, those moments never come. You can help change that this summer. Visit toysfortots.org. Toys for Tots, delivering hope beyond the holidays.
In the squadron, they called him Bullets, but we call him Greg Kelly. Greg Kelly is on the air
on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
I can't wait to go to the club. They do it with Fleetwood Mac. They do it with all the classic bands from the 70s and the 80s, and they update it, and it's cool, and it's fun. And I noticed that, like, young, 21, 22-year-old girls are into it. And one of the reasons why they like the classics so much, and they love the classics updated, it's not like when we were growing up, the oldies, like, say, songs from the 50s, they were kept in the basement of the radio station. It was too physically difficult to go get that song. But now you can just digitally, it's so easy. Anyway, they have more access to the oldies. And they can do it on their phone. So it's not as mysterious or unusual for them as it may have been for us growing up. In 1985, a 40-year-old song was 1945. A 50-year-old song was 1935. That Long Train Running, both of those songs we just played with are more than 50 years old. Looking Glass came out in 1972 with that Brandy. And the other one, Doobies, that was 1973. So it's kind of interesting. We have plateaued, but then again, at the same time, we're evolving, and I love it. I love it. Okay, it's kind of a weird news week. It's a little bit chill. It's a little bit everything's happening and nothing's happening at the same time. I know about the heat. It's tough, whatever. I'm kind of oblivious to the weather. I always have been. It's something, I don't know if it's a gift or a curse, because I often dress inappropriately. I forget to wear a coat, or I wear a coat. My wife hands me something on the way out the door, or tells me, why are you wearing that? It kind of goes like that. If you don't mind, we got to get J.D. Vance on the show talking about his book. He has this interesting book about his faith. But he's also updating everybody about what is up with this pause. We're not bombing Iran right now. Blaine Holt told us yesterday, hey, don't worry about it. We're still doing military things to Iran. We got all kinds of secret hijinks going on, okay? There are all kinds of little subterfuge and little games we are playing. Head games, military games, all kinds of games. The spirit of the MOU, okay, I guess. Here's J.D. Vance on the entire situation and what we're doing with this time that we have. Hopefully it leads to a peace deal. But if not, we'll be ready to bomb and fresher and resupplied. Cut 18, if you don't mind, the vice president.
The Iranians have not hit ships in the last couple of weeks, and the oil is flowing in the Strait of Hormuz, in part because the president made very clear that if the Iranians hit ships, we were going to hit back. So, it's going to take sometimes the carrot and the stick here. But, Laura, I actually think that the United States is in a great position, however the negotiation ultimately shakes out. If the negotiation is successful, which obviously we want it to be successful, you have an Iran that is permanently transformed, that's not funding regional terrorism and instability, that has permanently given up on any nuclear weapons ambition, and that as a result is welcomed back into the world economy. That's a great outcome for the American people. It's a great outcome for the whole region. But Laura, if on the other hand the Iranians don't behave, if they don't make the concessions in the negotiations that we need to see, their nuclear program is still destroyed, their conventional military is still destroyed, and the United States is still in a much stronger position relative to the Iranians. So my attitude on this, Laura, is we have all the cards in the negotiation. We obviously want it to be successful, but even if it's not successful, we've accomplished the core mission, which is to ensure that the Iranians never have a nuclear weapon. In other words, it's a win-win outcome for the American people. And I think because of that, what you see in the room, Laura, is I think evidence of a real push and pull in their system. There are people within the Iranian system who recognize recognize the way that they've done business for 47 years is a mistake, and they want to turn over a new leaf. You also see some resistance, some of the old hardliners, some of the old radicals who don't want to change their behavior. Part of what we're trying to do in this negotiation, Laura, is to see how serious they actually are. And to be serious, they've got to not just say the right things, they've got to make real concessions. So whether it's the president, me, anybody else in the negotiation, we care a lot less about what the Iranians say. We care a lot more about what they do. We see some positive signs. Obviously, we see some negative signs. What the president has told us is work the problem, see where the negotiation is going to lead, and if it doesn't lead to a successful resolution on the diplomatic side, we still have a lot of optionality, and we've still accomplished a whole lot for the American people.
I can live with that. I can totally live with that. Senator John Kennedy said something else. Some people say he shouldn't have said what he said. He said he got it from a classified briefing. But the why we started bombing Iran back in, late February, wasn't so much for the nuclear, but Iran was threatening to launch missiles, conventional, military, ballistic missiles, not nuclear, at European cities. And they were within range. They had these things. And if we mess with their nuclear anymore, they were going to start bombing, hitting European cities. So that's not purely a nuclear, but if that's the case, I'm okay with that as well. You can't threaten the world like that. We need nuclear, or else we're going to start bombing cities. That's a state that needs to be, at least the government, at least the military, eradicated. And I'm totally cool with that. So I trust these guys. And, listening to J.D. Vance there, he's 41 years old. So in 20 years, he's going to be 61. I mean, that's in 20 years, he'll be like a young man still to run for president. And they say his big chance is going to be 2028. But you never know. Richard Nixon became vice president at the age of 39. And, of course, Nixon was kind of in our lives for, 25 years at least and beyond. J.D. Vance may be part of this national conversation and for a generation. The potential is kind of awesome. And speaking of which, it does seem like a dead time a little bit. But there's a hell of a lot going on behind the scenes and in front of the scenes, on stage. But this presidential race is going to be essentially in high gear next year. This time next year, potentially all the candidates will have declared. Candidates start declaring in early February. And we'll know. So he handicaps all of his opposition, which include AOC and Gavin Newsom. She's even buggier ride than I remember. Have you seen that? Okay, I'm sorry, doobies. I think I moved on to the... no, this is too good. This is almost like Unplugged compared to that DJ stuff.
Greg Kelly.
Let's go, Brandon.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
In this 25th anniversary year of September 11th, the Tunnel to Towers Foundation continues to honor America's heroes. Heroes like Fire Lieutenant Michael Wells, who was inspired by 9/11 to serve his community. After 14 dedicated years of service, he lost his battle with occupational cancer, leaving behind his wife, Katie, and their 3 children. Tunnel to Towers honored Lieutenant Wells by paying off the family's mortgage in recognition of his sacrifices. Donate $11 monthly and amplify your impact with a car or land donation. Go to T2T.org.
Greg Kelly.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
All right, we are back with, I think it's fair to say she's a bit of a political legend, Betsy McCoy, PhD, super duper smart woman, so patriotic, the former lieutenant governor of New York State under George Pataki for a term, and also a candidate for governor of Connecticut. How about that? Now, it didn't quite work out. She's not going to be the next governor of Connecticut. Thanks a lot, Ned Lamont. He's a nut job. Betsy McCoy, welcome back. How are you?
Well, I'm excited, Greg, because we're celebrating the 250th birthday of the greatest nation ever founded. And it's very disturbing to see that all over this country, left-wing governors, blue state governors, are boycotting this great celebration in Washington. One of them is the governor of Connecticut. I call him Lefty Lamont, moving farther left every day. He has decided that Connecticut cannot afford $100,000 to outfit and staff a booth around the reflecting pool representing Connecticut. There are 50 booths in this beautiful state fair on the mall. One of them belongs to Connecticut, and right now it is pathetically empty because Lefty has decided the state can't afford it. Can you imagine? They've just sent $80,000 to the city of Hartford for the Pride Parade, but they can't spend $100,000 to celebrate the 250th birthday of the freest, greatest country on earth.
Wow. I think it's obviously a stick it to Trump kind of situation, right? It's this has been identified unfairly. I mean, it's really something we should all be into, the 250th anniversary, but
of course.
They've convinced themselves it's a Trump show and they don't want part of the Trump show, right?
But he's sticking it to every red-blooded American who wants to be a part of this celebration. So I'll tell you what I did. I made portraits. I went to the print shop and got portraits made of some of the great framers from Connecticut. William Samuel Johnson, I wrote a biography about him. Oliver Ellsworth, Roger Sherman, these three men all signed the U.S. Constitution. And Nathan Hale, you remember him. He was a young American soldier in the war. He was captured by the British, and as they dragged him to the gallows, he said, "I regret that I only have one life to lose for my country." So these four portraits, I'm taking them down by plane first thing in the morning and putting them up in this booth with a very personal conviction that this great holiday belongs to all of us.
Well, that's beautiful, all those paintings. Hey, we got to have something for the kids, though. You got to have like dunking for apples or a BB gun contest or something. Now, you can't just have these historic portraits of these great men.
I'll bring red, white, and blue lollipops as well. But Connecticut played such a key role in our founding. Have you ever heard of the Connecticut Compromise? That's why we have 2 senators from each state, and we have representation based on population in the lower house. These guys were really influential in how our government was founded. And to just stiff the nation, it's so shameful, Greg.
Well, all right. Well, Connecticut not getting its due. Puny little state geographically, but they punch above their weight, don't they? Hey, what got in your head, though? I mean, look, if you were going to be the governor of Connecticut after being the lieutenant governor of New York, people don't really, that's not something you hear about very often. Has that ever been done, a governor of 2 states?
I ran to eliminate the state income tax. We need one state in the Northeast that will be a real engine of economic opportunity. Once I was defeated at the state convention, right away I wrote to Bruce Blakeman. I like him. And I said, look, Bruce, let's make this New York. Let's eliminate the state income tax in New York. Whichever state does it first will become a powerful engine of economic growth. And boy, New York really needs it now. Ranks 50th out of 50.
Wow. Hey, you mentioned Connecticut so much. I got a little clip here from Richard Blumenthal. I guess he is the senior senator, and I didn't realize this guy's super duper rich. He pretends he's poor. Listen to him go off on the new Air Force One, which is beautiful, and finally a plane that is kind of worthy of the president, because the old Air Force One, if you know airplanes, was dilapidated. I mean, honestly, yeah, I was on that thing 20 years ago, and it was like, is this Air Force One? Listen to this. Cut 14, please. Cut 14.
The president's argument is the old Air Force One was in fact old. It's been used for 3 decades. Boeing is very far behind on delivering a new plane. Does he have a point in terms of them taking too long to produce a new plane?
Hopefully Boeing will accelerate production, and they need to do more quickly. The work on the new Air Force One, we've been pushing them to do it. That is a separate issue. The President of the United States ought to be using an American plane. And he could have gotten by, I think, with the old one. It was performing safely, It just wasn't as big and luxurious as he would want. And most of us who travel in economy class put up with a good deal more discomfort. And Americans these days, remember, are struggling to make ends meet.
All right, this is a liar. This guy, with the phony Vietnam. Hey, and that plane, I just want to point out, if you fly JetBlue or, American Airlines, that plane is probably maximum 12 years old. And
That's
the 747 the president is on or was on is over 30 years old, well over 30 years old. It was a danger. There's such a thing as metal fatigue, and they can't always detect for that. But this Blumenthal character is, he's loaded, isn't he?
Well, he's very loaded, but more important than that, he's a inveterate liar, and I've never believed one thing he said since he lied on something so serious. He falsely claimed he served in the Vietnam War in Vietnam. And you and I, Greg, I know people who lost loved ones in that war. You don't lie about that.
No, it's a horrible thing. Hey,
He doesn't belong in the United States Senate. He doesn't belong in the Senate. He lied about his own war record.
Da Nang Dick. You may remember President Trump calling him Da Nang Dick.
Right.
Look, right now, we got a problem. I mean, the socialists are on the rise here. The Democrats don't appear ready for the fight. I think they're going to cave. I think the Democrat Party is going to become a socialist party. I mean, what are you hearing?
I agree with you. I see it even in Connecticut. Lefty Lamont is being challenged from the left. Can you believe it? That's why he keeps moving left by Josh Elliott, who's also running on the Working Families Party. And that we see it in every state now where there is a growing movement of very far left Democratic candidates who are capturing the youth vote, particularly. It's very dangerous. And what it tells us is our own young people are being brainwashed, indoctrinated in our schools.
Yeah, no, it's strange. And I thought the Democrat Party, the mainstream people would stand up to it. But let's face it, there ain't no mainstream. The mainstream Democrats, they're all for the drag time. They're all for no border. They're all for crazy stuff. So this isn't really that much further, although I think they're still a little bit uncomfortable. All right. What do the sane people in New York, in Connecticut have to do? Because regular folks are not nearly as active as these socialists are. These socialists live for politics. Sane people have other interests, whether it's the World Cup, football, work, sex, you name it. They're into it. But, there has to be a sea change. There has to be something.
You are so right, Greg. And it does start with the youth, because you see that the way Mamdani won, he had so many hundreds of thousands of young people on the street. And Ed Cox in New York, this fellow Ben Proto in Connecticut, they've got to work to get young people out on the street organizing. It sounds like a very old-fashioned way to do politics, but together with social media, that is the ticket. We've got to get the young people very, very mobilized and engaged.
All right. Well, it's easier said than done, and I think it's going to take more than TikTok videos,
It's going to take more than TikTok, and it can't be these wimpy little steps like I'm going to take 10% off your taxes or 10% off your electric bill. It's time to go bold or go home.
I love it. I love it. Hey, let me ask you a serious question, and I mean it. How did you get so smart? Were you born that way? You got a million degrees. No, you got a law degree and a PhD. You're one of the few policy experts who's also really good at politics. You see one, you see the other. Rarely do you see both in one person. I
learned almost everything from my dad. He was a factory worker, but very patriotic. He would stand on the curb during parades like 4th of July, holding my hand. You could see the tears rolling down his face. I get choked up just thinking about it. Sometimes you have a parent who just forges you like steel. And that's what my father did for me.
What kind of factory did he work in?
He worked in a trim nail clipper factory in Derby, Connecticut. Yep. He was a maintenance man in the trim nail clipper factory owned by the Bassett brothers in Derby, Connecticut.
It's amazing. You hold the nail clipper, and there's a whole, there's so many stories behind a nail clipper.
Of course.
What?
Yeah. Now they're all made in China.
Made in China, but it's amazing. A maintenance man at the clipper factory, the toenail clipper factory. Well, it's incredible.
Toenail clipper factory. That's what they make. Nail
good
clippers,
luck.
Toenail clippers, and files.
I want you to be careful in Washington, D.C. Obviously, it's really, really hot. And what booth are you setting up in? If Connecticut doesn't have a booth, where are you going to put these paintings?
Connecticut does have a booth. The shame of it was just empty.
Oh.
So I'm going down there first thing in the morning, taking a 6:30 flight, and I'm going to outfit the booth with these portraits and talk to everybody who comes by, bringing some of my books on the Constitution, and particularly on William Samuel Johnson. And I just want to share with everyone the great history that Connecticut has. We have so much to be proud of. And, of course, as a nation, we have so much to be proud of.
All right. Well, it's amazing what you're doing. What a kind and interesting gesture for your state, for your country. You got to stop by Walmart and get a big vat of lollipops or Costco. It's something for the kids.
I'm definitely going to do that. That's a very good idea. And bubbles. You know, those bubbles you blow, that's fun, too.
Kids love bubbles. I got a 4- and 6-year-old.
And because you're such a good dad, you're so involved with your beautiful daughters.
You think so, huh? My wife is doing the bulk of it. Believe me, I love them so much. I do. And but they're a handful.
All over your face when you talk about them.
No, it's really beautiful. But the work of a wife and children and a mom and children. There's nothing like it. Nothing like it, and nothing like being a dad. Betsy McCoy, PhD. Safe travels. Thank you for what you're doing, and we'll be right back.
Greg Kelly
on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Greg Kelly, entertaining and informative
on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
6 months left in the year. I am happy to report that, or happy to just observe, I'm writing these things down. I have lost 26 pounds since the start of my diet, April 10th. So down 26 pounds. That still means I'm a little bit over 200 pounds. Hopefully by the end of this weekend, if you really focus, you can actually lose weight in a couple of days. And I just feel enormously better. I'm more mobile. I'm more, inclined to go out and do stuff. Don't have to worry so much about what am I wearing, what fits. Oh gosh, all that crap. It can really bog you down. And it bogged me down. For many, many years. Do not be bogged down by Trump derangement syndrome. Did you guys see this or hear about this? This is an actual video. It's AI, but President Trump put it on his Truth Social. President Trump is standing there in a doctor's coat, and he's consulting his patient, Rosie O'Donnell. Rosie O'Donnell. Okay, here we go. Dr. Trump, take it away. Cut 15.
Have you or someone you know been diagnosed with TDS? The symptoms can be relentless. Fortunately, I'm Dr. Trump, and I have a treatment plan. Let's hear what some of my patients have to say.
I have been suffering for over a decade, and after listening to Dr. Trump, I can see some results.
Man, I've been suffering for years. I really didn't believe that was help out there. That was when I came across this video on TV.
I really thought I was a lost cause. This was going to affect me for the rest of my life. But after using the treatment plan, I can see a difference.
I really wasn't sure I could help some of these people. They were so far gone, I wasn't really sure.
I had no idea how much this was affecting my life.
Ed Norton.
My work is slowed down. I'm hardly recognizable anymore. I just needed help.
I couldn't eat. I couldn't sleep. Constantly angry.
De Niro.
I made everyone miserable around me.
I feel like I've aged 20 years in the last 2 years.
Julia Roberts.
I've been so concerned. I was really starting to worry about my future.
The treatment is simple. Turn off fake news. Say your prayers, and if you ever feel anxious, just have a Diet Coke like me, and you're going to see a remarkable difference in your life.
Now, he put this on his own Truth Social, and of course it gets picked up. And of course, for 90 minutes or so, there's a raging online outrage. How could he do this? It's so unpresidential. It's so unpresidential. Why? How is that unpresidential? How is it unpresidential? I think it's perfect. Why shouldn't a president be able to use satire and humor and mockery? I noticed this as a kid. I noticed that the president of the United States was always on the receiving end, just getting so much criticism, and that people made their careers, their livelihood, based on opposing the president of the United States on TV, in the newspaper, all these silly columns. And I'm like, why aren't I hearing more from the president? I think it goes all the way back to Nixon, but especially Ronald Reagan. That's where I really noticed it. And I guess that's part of the reason why I am who I am today in terms of being a conservative, because seeing Ronald Reagan attacked so unfairly. Granted, I thought for a time that Bill Clinton was attacked unfairly. I was kind of always rooting for the incumbent for the first chunk of my life, and then I realized, no, not all incumbents are alike. And I fell in love with the ideals of conservatism, and I also became disgusted with the Iraq War. Sitting over there, realizing it was unnecessary, hauling my ass back and forth for Fox News, and being pressured, quite frankly, by Fox News. Hey, Greg, why aren't you reporting all the good news that's coming out of Iraq? Oh, really, Brit Hume? Why don't you come on over here and tell me where that is? Have you ever made the trip? Now, Brit's a very talented guy, but, you know, he was... we were at odds when it came to George W. Bush. I worked in that bureau. And, you know, he thought the Bush and everybody like that. He was also thinking about the network. You know, if you want people complaining about the Iraq War, well, turn on CNN, turn on MSNBC, turn on ABC, CBS, all that stuff. And, you know, Fox News was offering an alternative. And I understand that now, but I also find it preposterous that there would be pressure or even interest. Look, war stinks. Bad things happen in war. I remember they sent me out to cover some school that had been rebuilt in the Al Anbar province. And I was talking to him, and yeah, okay, great, there's a new school here. And one of the soldiers said, you know, yeah, it's kind of, you guys never report on the good news. You only report the bad news. And I'm like, well, how many schools have you built? And he said, well, this is the first one. How long have you been here? A year and a half, the guy said. I don't know how he's there. Year and a half. Okay, one school. How many bombs? How many guys have you lost? And, oh, quite a few. IEDs, pretty much a daily thing, every other day, something like that. You see, this is why I focus on the other part of the war. Doesn't mean that war is always unjust. Sometimes it is. That one certainly wasn't. All right, enough of that. Happy 4th of July. Be careful if you go into that big state fair, the America State Fair in Washington, D.C., but be sure to say hi to Betsy McCoy and the Connecticut booth. And thank you to Party Pupils and the Looking Glass Band. Be right back.
Thanks for listening to The Greg Kelly Show. You can hear The Greg Kelly Show weekdays at 12:15 on 77 WABC. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode so you never have to wonder.
What the heck is going on here?
The playoffs are here, and you can predict the action all the way to the finals with FanDuel Predicts. Predict the spread, the total points, and even the game-winning moments that make the playoffs. Sign up and get a $25 bonus with FanDuel Predicts.
Offered by FanDuel Prediction Markets, LLC, a registered futures commission merchant. 18-plus bonus is non-withdrawable and expires 7 days after receipt. Trading derivatives involves significant risk and may not be suitable for all investors. Manage your activity with their consumer protection tools. Restrictions apply. See terms at FanDuel.com/predicts/bonus-offer-terms.